What education do you need for construction? So I get asked all the time, what do you need to get into a construction company and how can I get my first break? We also are going to discuss what kind of educations you can get, what is the importance of experience, and what is the key to keeping your career flowing. If you're interested in these, then stay with us in this video because you're about to find out. So like I said, the number one thing that people reach out to me for is to find out, how can I get my first shot? What kind of education do I need? What kind of experience do I need? Let me paint you a picture of what's happening in our industry today so that you can kind of understand where we are and hopefully where we need to head. And I hope other people like business owners and recruiters see this video as well. But here's what's happening. Construction, let me just give you some background. In my opinion, and by the way, I love all countries. I love everybody in the world. I'm not disparaging at all. From a data standpoint, because of economic conditions and population declines, we're going to experience less goods coming in from Russia and China. And you are going to experience more coming from India, so that's a good thing. More coming in from Mexico, and the United States and Canada, at least for our area, we'll have to increase our production. So you add that to the fact that for every 5 people that are leaving construction or retiring, that you only have 1 person coming in, and that we have well over 500,000 people that we need today, and that we need to increase our production as a country just for infrastructure, and you start to understand our suicide rate in construction, which is horrible, and you understand some of the difficulties we're facing, and you tack on to that a labor shortage, and you tack on to that difficulties in getting supplies. Now you have kind of painted a picture of what we're facing. We need to do this much work in North America, and I do mean Canada, United States and Mexico and the other North American countries. We need to do this, and our capability is something like this because of world economic conditions, okay? And so we're going to have to get to a place where we increase our production. But our and this is not a dramatic video. I'm talking about, let's just assume that I'm talking about legal immigration. I'm not talking about anything political, but we as a country have very difficult legal immigration laws. Even with NAFTA, we have difficulties in obtaining visas. Even with our need for additional people to work, we have companies and recruiters that will only hire if you have 5, 10, 15 years of experience, and it doesn't exist. We have companies that do not do training, and the only word I have to say, we're very uppity about it, right? Like we need to do this much work. We have the capacity to do this, but it's our systems and our beliefs and our restrictions that are partly capping this. Like we're not encouraging foreign labor. We're not encouraging outsourcing. We are not encouraging, meaning healthy outsourcing. Not talking about child labor. We are not encouraging the training of new people who are willing, and we are not really recruiting for that as well. Here's the situation. If you're trying to get into a construction company, they need you big time, and you're smart. I have people all the time calling me, they're former police officers, they're ex-military, they may be like really great managers and leaders in the military, or they come from Google as a manager or whatever, and construction companies are saying no, 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 no. That's the reality, even though they need you. So I hope what changes, and it's not changing yet, is that recruiters and companies really get the point that we're going to have to recruit anybody that's a cultural fit, that's able and has potential, and we're going to have to train them. We're not there yet. And so what you're in is you're in a situation where the industry needs you, but the industry is not acting like they want to or giving you a break. So that leads us to our current topic. What do you need to get your break? What education do you need? The answer is that you do not need a degree to be successful in construction management. Period. End of story. I know that sounds unempathetic and distant, and most of you clicked off this video, but that's just it. I don't have a degree, and there's so many people out there that are wildly successful, change makers in the industry that don't. You do not need it, but you may need it to get in. And that is a sad fact. Or you're going to have to buck the system and find another way in. Now, for those of you college graduates who are mad at me right now, I didn't say education is not important. I said a diploma. So Is education important? Absolutely. Are certifications important? Absolutely. Is a college education important if that's your avenue, which I love and respect and honor? That's exactly what we're looking for, right? If trade schools is what you have, that's great. If reading books is what you have, that's great. If relative experience in other industries is what you're getting, that's great. So education is important, okay? But the diploma may be the key to getting into the actual career or the company itself. Or you've got to know somebody, or you've got to get lucky, or you've got to be persistent, or you've got to do an internship, or whatever. So I'm just going to be real with you. The biggest question that I get from people is, how do you get your first break? So let's cover some things right now in this video that I think will help you. Number one, most of you from an education or experience standpoint are going to need a high school diploma. You're at a minimum going to have a GED. And it's not a big deal. I'm not judgmental about that. In fact, to test out of high school early, that's what I did. It's not a big deal. You're going to have that as a minimum, and you're going to have those minimum skills. Number two, knowing that companies are asking for an education or a focus and the knowledge that you can do hard things, which happens when you get a degree, you may consider an associate's degree to show that, hey, you have the ability to get the grades, you have the ability to finish, you have the piece of paper, and now you can match that with your experience or get an opportunity in an internship. Once you're in an internship, once you're in the door, let me say this real quick. Once you're in the door with either an internship or an apprenticeship or in the company in a different role, it might even be office manager, or it might be an assistant, right, somewhere. If you're in the door, you can wow them, go the extra mile, go take on additional responsibilities and start getting promoted. It's actually pretty easy, but you've got to get in the door. And an associate's may be one way to get in the door, at least for an internship. Number three, bachelor's degree is probably going to serve you the best, right? Especially in construction management or engineering or with another focus that people are hiring for. But if you want to get into construction, the construction management degree seems to be the best. Now, you're still a bit held up. If they're looking for new hires or internships, that degree is going to get you into that from an entry-level position. Now, if you're looking for project engineer, assistant project manager, assistant superintendent, and you want to go directly into those positions, they're probably not going to do that unless you have 5 years relevant experience in the role. Now, here's one thing that I do want to say. A lot of you folks out there, and this is great. This is a great video right now. So a lot of you folks out there that are like ex-military, former police officers, built houses with your dad, are like, I worked for such and such in such and such title, and it's described on your resume as something completely different. On LinkedIn, on your resume, if you were being a builder, or if you were in the Seabees, or if you were building with your dad or whatever, don't just be like, I was building with my dad. Be like, I was a builder, I was leading crews in construction, or I was a builder doing construction management for the military. Describe what you were doing and the relative experience. Don't just put the title you had, the company you had, and diminish what your role is, right? If you do have the degree and the 5 years experience, but it was different kinds of experience, describe it and use construction language for the recruiters and the company so they can see what you really bring to the table. But for the most part, your best chance in getting into an internship or as a new hire field engineer, project engineer is probably going to be the 4-year bachelor's degree. Another avenue which you can experiment with is professional certifications. Make sure that your experience and the amount of effort that you put into that is on LinkedIn and on your resume, and that you're describing it. And when you go to interview, describe what you did. Do not shortchange yourself. Sometimes you may, from an education standpoint, want to really focus on professional certification programs. Number 5, we've touched on it just a little bit, but apprenticeships, on-the-job training, I'm telling you, this is a jam. If I was in your position and I didn't necessarily want to go the college path, I wouldn't mind signing up as a laborer or a carpenter apprentice or a finisher, or to take some other job in the organization where I could work my way up. Because if you got me in as a laborer, carpenter, finisher, an office manager, an assistant, an on-site lead on a project, or anywhere in the organization, I'm going to latch on, overperform, wow the heck out of everybody, ask for opportunities, and go get it, and they're going to promote me through the ranks. So do not, and even if you're, and this is such a good video. Okay, so even if you're like 35 and you're like, I'm behind. No. Go take that apprenticeship. Go do that apprenticeship. and show them what you can do, and you will then catapult your career and you will accelerate and you'll pick up your ground. You're not too far behind. I love it when Gary Vee on his videos, he's talking to people, he's doing a seminar or speech, and somebody's like, I'm just sad that I'm not farther along. And he's like, how old are you? And they're like, I'm 28. He's like, come on. And he says a cuss word. He's like, F off. You give yourself time. You are not behind. Do not shortchange those entry-level positions, apprenticeships or internships. They are great opportunities. Ultimately, you're looking for any opportunity to get into the door because most of the learning that you're going to do is on the job. If you read and if you take certification programs and if you listen to the podcast and this YouTube channel, which I hope you're going to like and subscribe to. But the bottom line is follow these steps to get in. Get an opportunity, work off, always be volunteering for your next step and taking the initiative, continue learning throughout and master your roles, and add so much value that they can't help but promote you and reward you. The only thing that I would say to cap off this entire video is this: if your company is not training you, then you train yourself. If your company is not educating you, then you educate yourself. If you don't have a mentor, then you mentor yourself. You cannot go through construction management and not be constantly learning. That's my best advice. If you're constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly heading towards that next opportunity, and constantly putting yourself out there, you're going to be fine. All you need is your first break. And so I would like to add on to this. What's worked for you? How did you get in? What feedback would you give? Please put in the comments below. And what we'll do is we'll add these and compile these. Every time I get a comment, I'll put it in the description below, your comment, and people will see your comments of what is the best way to get in? What education do you need? I hope this video has been helpful. On we go.